And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex for Game 2 of today's non-conference doubleheader between the College of Staten Island and Goldey-Beacom College. The Lightning took the win in Game 1 by a final score of 8-3. They improved to 3-0 all-time against the College of Staten Island in 3 games, 2 played back in 2022. The third, of course, coming today. As that one is chopped foul. Christian Petrillo leading things off for the Lightning for the second straight game. We'll get you the full Goldey-Beacom starting lineup in just a couple of minutes. As we are very short-handed up here in the box today. We're getting our lead statistician, Louis Matrone, situated at the PA desk. He came from his other job at Staten Island University Hospital. We're very grateful for him coming in and bailing us out here for Game 2. Once again, this is Joe Foreman for CSI Sportsnet on the call, soon to be joined by Nick Bavona. Nick, of course, had the call of Game 1, as that one's chopped foul. Straight toward the Dolphins' dugout, where Shendi Ulaj nearly made the grab. We'll have our scoreboard live on the screen in just a moment. Comes the 1-2, and that's hit out to left center. Kehoe ranging to his right. He makes the catch as he battles the sun. And there's quickly one away in the road first inning. All right, so until Nick returns to the booth, no bases on our scoreboard, but we have it. And the alternate camera angle I should be able to manage on my own. Our camera's situated in the right field corner as that pitch is swung on and missed. I'll have the lineup for Goldey-Beacom following this next pitch as Dolphin starter Mike Centuriello gets ahead 0-2. Now, we actually didn't receive clarification on the pronunciation of Michael's last name. In some last names, the I is silent. In others, it is not. So we'll have to get that information at some point during this game. I've heard Santorello more frequently, as that's hit out to right center. And that is snow-coned in right field. They call the batter out. And that is a great play on the move in right field to make that catch by Chris Polamini. Starting lineup for the Lightning very quickly. Petrillo, Charles, Miller, Walker, Johnson, Colemansberger, Camps, Turner, Stewart, and I almost said in the circle. In there at starting pitcher is Hawbaker. We'll get first names in just a second. Stat Crew generates last names only for the Lightning. As I just made it back to my seat at the commentary desk, for those who watched Game 1, I mysteriously vanished early in that game, probably about the third inning, not to return. That was because I took over as our PA announcer. But Lewis making the save, getting here just in time for Game 2. Now on PA, Nick helping him get some things situated next door, but he'll be joining me shortly. At the plate here, Darren Miller. Miller gets the start at first base for the second consecutive game. As Charles did before him, he fell behind 0-2, and he chases that pitch in the dirt on 1-2 as Campisi completes the putout over at first base. Strikeout swinging, 2-3, side retired. And it's a good first inning for Michael Santorello on the mound. Dolphins come to bat with no score. we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex where there is no score entering the bottom half of the first inning. As I mentioned before, on the mound for the Lightning in this game, Mikey Hawbaker. We'll get you his numbers in just a second. Looks like Nick poached my stats during game one. I'll have to take those back. Had the full stats for both teams. Nick was on the call all alone following the third inning. But the stats for Hawbaker this year, 5.4 ERA across 5 appearances, all of those coming in relief, 6 2/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 4 runs, all of those earned. He's walked 1 and struck out 8. Opposing batters hitting at .308 against him. Now, Stephanie, you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Did I sound that loud on PA during the first game? I did not. All right, so Lou needs to speak a little bit further from the mic, but I love his enthusiasm. They heard him back where Nick lives, near the Staten Island Ferry. Michael Kehoe leads things off for the Dolphins. He gets the start in center field. Kehoe was behind the plate in game one. That's hit in the air out to shallow right. That might stay on the infield, but ranging back to make the catch. Right on the edge of the outfield grass was Stewart. And there's quickly one away in the home first.
Number 3, Michael Palermo.
And that will bring up Michael Palermo. Palermo gets the start in left. He bats behind Michael Kehoe. The rest of the Dolphins starters in the 3 spot, Chris Polamini, A.J. Vigliotti in the cleanup spot. Thomas Martin bats 5th. Anthony Cetera bats 6th. Jaden Waterman bats 7th. Nick Campisi bats 8th. Nicholas Rodriguez bats 9th. And Michael Santorello is on the mound for the Dolphins as I am rejoined by Nick Bavona. Now, Nick, neither of us intended to call a game solo today, but unfortunately things haven't quite worked out the way we hoped. We do anticipate that you and I will both be on the call the rest of the way.
And we'll see if the Dolphins can pick up that illustrious win that we mentioned in Game 1 of this doubleheader as they look to split this doubleheader with the Lightning.
You jinx.
You have no right to call me that after what you did Friday. Absolutely no right.
Well, if there's no record of it, did it happen?
You brought it up in the air, so.
I did. That might have just been a bit. You never know.
Just a bit. Could have been. I have photo evidence, though, that doesn't say it's a bit.
We're going to start airing the images of text conversations. Is that a step too far as Palermo strikes out?
I don't think we should do that.
Probably not.
Probably should not do that.
That will bring up Chris Polamini. Now, I don't know if you heard it, Nick, but when Michael Kehoe was announced into the game, you heard Lou across the island.
I said to him, you can move back a little bit if you want.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
He had a mouthful of microphone on that one.
He was ready.
As Polamini looks at a strike.
Someone once said ready, ruling, and Gable.
Someone once said somebody's got to do something.
Someone's definitely got to do something.
He's not here right now.
Oh.
He's down 0-1.
He's got a little bit of no nonsense going on.
Well, that's a different someone.
I know. I like to bring up a lot of people.
Count 1 ball and 1 strike on the Dolphins right fielder. Pitch on its way from Hawbaker after a long look in. That's hit a mile high into center. Once again, battling the sun is the center fielder, and Petrillo makes the catch. So both center fielders had to contend with some late afternoon, early evening sunlight, but the putout is complete in center field to retire the side. Dolphins go down 1-2-3 in the first. We'll be right back with no score. The Aesthetics Med Spa and Wellness Center. Our approach to beauty and wellness begins with a holistic plan tailored to the unique needs of our patients. When we consult with patients, we let them tell us what their problem is. We don't tell them what the issue is. We find out what they're looking for, and we discuss, and then we give them options. If you're looking to achieve radiant skin, you've come to the right place. We offer hydrofacials, microneedling, Opus Plasma, peels, facial and laser treatments, laser hair removal, body sculpting, fat freezing, hormone replacement therapy, Botox, IV drip therapy, and more. We are open Monday through Saturday and are located at 720 Forest Avenue, Staten Island, New York, 10310. We hope to see you soon. Visit our website at www.chiaesthetics.com for more information. And we are back for the second inning. No score between the Dolphins and the Lightning. Joe Foreman on the call with you alongside Nick Bavona. Kyle Walker will lead things off for Goldey-Beacom. Now, Nick, in your opinion, this is a question I should have asked earlier, but starting pitcher for the Dolphins, Michael Santorello, or do you think the I is pronounced?
I think I said Santorello when he pitched at, because I think he pitched one of those games at the Ferry Hawks.
Well, I have not called one of his starts yet, or one of his outings. Let me see something there.
I'm going to double check, but I think he did pitch.
Well, he
one
has
of those
stats. He has stats, so he has pitched. He's a pitched.
He did. He pitched against Caldwell. He came in.
He's pitched twice already.
Right.
Count even here at 1 ball and 1 strike on Walker.
This being his second start now of the season.
Okay. He falls behind here on Walker, 2-1. Now, we do have the Game 1 box over at CSIDolphins.com. I tried to get that up very quickly. So that's chopped to short, and it handcuffs Rodriguez. And that will go down as an E6.
So a couple of errors in Game 1 between these two teams. So an early E6 right there. As we heard the door slamming with the wind.
Well, the wind has been wreaking havoc today.
It has.
We've had multiple door slams. I'm not sure how many of those came while we were broadcasting outside of a commercial break, but there have been quite a few door slams as that's ripped through the left side for a base hit. And Demetrius Johnson is on with a single. Moving up to second is Walker, and the Lightning have the first 2 batters on with nobody out here in the second.
So nice start to the inning for Goldey-Beacom right here as they look to get the first run of this game. After that last hit, and it brings up Coleman'sberger.
I'll get that Game 1 box up on my laptop in just a moment. As I mentioned before, I arrived at my seat about 30 seconds before first pitch. That pitch misses inside, and with nobody covering third, the lead runner advances easily, no throw to second, and now there are 2 in scoring position for the Lightning with nobody out.
And I think that's the danger you risk with moving the runners into the corners for the defensive side for the Dolphins. Because of you having now the third baseman in to protect the bunt, it allows that double steal to happen. So now second and third, that one's hit into center. That should bring home a run as it drops in front of Kehoe. That's going to bring home at least 1 and give Goldey-Beacom an early 1-0 lead.
Tough break there on a bloop single. And the Lightning are out in front early once again. They struck in the first inning of Game 1, scored 4 times, and now they score in the second inning of Game 2. And with nobody out, Goldey-Beacom still has runners on the corners. And coming to the plate will be Kalen Camps.
Camps getting the start in Game number 2 at catcher. As we saw Nick Harkins in Game 1 unfortunately get hit by a foul ball that took him out of that Game 1 contest and had to be replaced later on by Adam McAvoy.
There's a big swing and a miss for strike 1. Some Game 1 standouts. Following this next pitch on the side of the Dolphins, Chris Palomini had a couple of base hits and 2 RBIs as that one's hit well to center over Kehoe's head. It rolls to the base of the fence. 2 runs will score. And Kalen Camps has himself a 2 RBI double. And the Lightning now lead 3-0.
Well, we saw in Game 1 where the Lightning got 4 runs in that top of the first inning. They jumped out to that lead and were able to hold on for the win. And here, they get a nice 2-run double into center field over Michael Kehoe. A really well-hit ball by Camps, giving his team now an early 3-0 lead. As for now, Joe is going to attend to that flying door. Hopefully now it will not fly open after that previous encounter as Nathan Turner comes up.
We had quite a few walk right past that door with the lock looped in through the opening where the door would close. That's good for storing the lock if you want to leave the door open. With the wind today, can't afford to leave the door open. So following a third slam, we had to go and correct that. We're back. And at the plate for Goldey-Beacom is Nathan Turner. Comes the 0-2 pitch, and that's fouled away as that was a defensive half swing by Turner. So as I mentioned, standouts from Game 1. On the Dolphins side, it was Chris Palomini with 2 hits and 2 RBIs. On the side of Goldey-Beacom, multiple hit games for Miller, or I should say multiple RBI game for Miller. He drove in 3. Coleman'sberger had 2 hits, Walker had 2 hits, and Charles had 2 hits.
Also something to note about the Lightning, as I mentioned in that game, had 6 stolen bases. So they were very, very active on the base path.
6 stolen bases, 5 walks, as that's ripped into right field for another Goldey-Beacom base hit. Camps will be held at third. And once again, the Lightning have runners on the corners, still nobody out. And coming to the plate will be Bobby Stewart.
Dangerous situation for the Dolphins right here. Already down 3, first and third, still nobody out. Even there could be a point where obviously a double play ball would be very helpful for the Dolphins, but unfortunately, they would have to sacrifice a run if that was going to happen. So for now, they don't have the infield in, so they're going to keep them back for double play territory.
Corners are about halfway, middle infielders back, so the Dolphins will concede a run on a double play ball. Lightning have done a good job in this game, hitting gap to gap. There's a big swing and miss by Stewart. But big hole on the left side, big hole on the right side. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. Santorello delivers, and that swung on and missed. Good breaking ball. As Stewart swung right over the top of it for strike 2.
This could certainly be helpful for Santorello right here if he can get the strikeout, get that first out, and then double play ball from getting out of the inning.
That pitch misses down and in. Dolphins with a very good defensive catcher behind the plate in Nick Campisi. Shouldn't be easy to run on him if he's given a good pitch to throw on. Oftentimes you do see base runners challenge the catcher with a runner on third. As once again, Stewart was fooled by the off-speed pitch. He swung way over the top of it. And that's a big strikeout and first out of the inning for Santorello.
And now, for the Dolphins, obviously, as I mentioned, you can get a double play ball right here, get yourself out of this inning and keep it a 3-run game. So, a good chance for CSI, but now for the Lightning, they'll have the top of the order coming back up.
Christian Petrillo, leadoff hitter for Goldey-Beacom. He's 0 for 1. Showed bunt. And it looked like he was hit by the pitch, so the runners will have to head back. And that's a break for the Dolphins as the double steal was on. And that pitch was way inside. Petrillo in a great deal of discomfort over at first base as well.
So a major opportunity now for Anthony Charles coming up to the plate. He'll have bases loaded 1 away. Can really open up this game early on, Joe, with something into the gap.
Well, I mentioned it before. Charles had a nice game 1, 2 for 4, 3 runs scored, and has a chance to add some RBIs to his stat line on the day if he can come through with a base hit here. Corners in for the Dolphins, middle infield back. And there's a big swing and miss by Charles for strike 1.
See, for now, the Dolphins keeping the corners in, so weak ground ball to first or third maybe could force the throw to home.
That's chopped back toward the mound, snagged by Santorello. He throws home and gets the out there.
A major out number 2 forced by the Dolphins pitcher. And now CSI 1 out away, Joe, from getting out of this jam.
That is a huge play by Santorello, as there was a chance that if that got by him, everyone is safe. That ball was hit slowly. So Charles will reach on the fielder's choice, and the out at home goes 1-2. That pitch misses low to Darren Miller for ball 1. As we get another look at that play by Santorello, our alternate camera out in right field, giving us a very good look at that play at the plate. And that's hit through the left side for a base hit. 1 run in to score. Petrillo heading home. The throw sails over the cutoff man, and Petrillo will score easily. It's a 2 RBI single for Darren Miller, and the Lightning now lead 5-0.
Darren Miller was very active in game number 1, Joe, between the two teams, and gets a nice 2-run single. Just when it looked like the Dolphins had some momentum going in the inning to get themselves out of this jam, A 2-run single there now puts the Lightning up 5-0.
That will bring up Kyle Walker. As I mentioned before, Walker, 2 hits in the early game, 2 for 3, 2 runs scored. Drew one of those 5 Goldey-Beacom walks as Santorello misses outside. Dolphins have been victimized by some tough luck in this game. They have an early error, but free passes certainly hurt them in Game 1, as did the stolen bases. It's been a combination of the little things. The Lightning didn't slug the Dolphins out of that first game.
If I'm not mistaken, the hits were 7-6.
Not a lot of hits.
Yeah.
In that big first inning where the Lightning scored 4 runs, they only had 1 hit. So it wasn't as if the Dolphins pitching staff was getting torched by the bats of Goldey-Beacom. It was the free passes, the errors, the stolen bases, all the little things that compounded to make it a big Goldey-Beacom win, as that ball was slugged into the left center field gap. It one-hops the wall, and 2 more runs will score. As pulling into second with a 2 RBI double is Kyle Walker, and the Lightning now lead 7-0.
And early on, Joe, this game's starting to get away from CSI. An early 7th spot for Goldey-Beacom on 6 hits. So they've already almost matched their Game 1 total. It's 7-0 deficit now for the Dolphins.
No action in the CSI bullpen yet. This inning belongs to Santorello with 2 outs, and it's unlikely we'd see the Dolphins make a pitching change without Santorello at least getting through this inning. He will face Demetrius Johnson, who chops one on the ground to short. Backhand by Rodriguez. Strong throw in time as Martin makes the stretch over at first base to complete the putout. But not before Goldey-Beacom scores 7 times. They now have 6 hits in the game, and CSI trails 7-0 when they come to bat in the home second.
Kettle Black on Staten Island, a top 5 wing joint in America by Food and Wine magazine. Serving daily lunch and dinner at the bar or on the floor. Perfect for family and group parties with top shelf drink and delicious food. From great times with good friends. Live sports and watch parties. To Staten Island's hottest nightlife. The Kettle Black features live music and DJs weekly. The Kettle Black features daily and nightly food and drink specials. The best Staten Island has to offer is at the Kettle Black. We'll see you there at the Kettle Black, located on 415 Forest Avenue, Staten Island.
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex. A.J. Vigliotti, the batter for the Dolphins. And A.J. looks at ball 1. Vigliotti getting his first at bat of this game, and he looks at a strike. Dolphins had a quick first inning, both on the mound and at the plate. Both teams went down quickly. And the Lightning have broken things wide open here in the second. And we said it, Nick, in Game 1, it wasn't necessarily the Goldey-Beacom bats that helped them out to a lead as high as 7. But here in this second game, the bats really came to life in that second inning.
And we saw in the game for the Dolphins, they made it at 1.8-3 and had first and second, nobody out. But unfortunately for CSI, as that one's fouled behind the plate, the Dolphins would get grounded to a double play, would then strike out on the next batter. So CSI made it a little bit of an attempt towards the end of that game to get him back into this one. They'll have to do with something here now, trailing already 7-0. They got to start chipping away early on if they want to have a chance.
And you get the sense that when the Dolphins loaded the bases with nobody out, and at that point they had pulled to within 5. It was 8-3, I believe, at the time. Maybe 7-3.
It was 8-3. It was 8-1. They got the 2-run single to make it 8-3. So it was first and second, nobody out.
So they had the bases loaded, nobody out, 2-run base hit. Now 8-3. Yep. Runners on first and second, nobody out, and then just a back-breaking double play really derailed that inning, and it felt like all of the energy was sucked out of the CSI baseball complex once that happened. And to the credit of the CSI bench, they sent quite a few pinch hitters up late in that game, put together some good at-bats, some factoring in to that rally, or at least the beginnings of what could have been a big rally, as that's hitting the air out to right field. Charles out there, again battling the sun and the wind, and he makes the catch.
Took a long run from right field to make that play, but was able to record it for the first out of the inning.
Now, I give this announcement, at this point it's kind of a PSA, every season, in addition to our instructions on parking, don't park in the front 2 rows, don't discount the elements here at the CSI Baseball Complex. Wind, always a factor. Wet weather, certainly a factor when it comes to the grass field, anytime there's some rain. And the sunlight definitely does not help the outfielders in these late afternoon, early evening games. As we know well, the sun sets behind home plate at softball, and once it goes behind the trees, it gets cold. That sun is setting in the face of the outfielders.
We saw that a couple of weeks ago, the Dolphins' first home games of the season. It started off a hot day, and then it quickly became cold as the day went on.
And Thomas Martin takes low, the count 1-2. Martin, 2 base hits away from 100 in his CSI career. 4th-year Dolphin. That's chopped to the left side, backhanded it short. Throw across the diamond in time, and Martin is retired for out number 2.
2 away in the inning brings up Anthony Cetera, and it was very rare, occasion that I saw him at third base originally off the lineup card. You usually see him at second, but with Jaden Waterman in the lineup, he gets to start at second, and Cetera now playing at third base today.
Dolphins have had a lot of players who have been forced to play multiple positions over the last couple of years. Cetera, one of those versatile infielders. We've seen Ryan Kehoe asked to both catch and play the outfield. We've seen A.J. Vigliotti catch. We've seen him play first base. So a lot of Dolphins being asked to do quite a bit in terms of where they line up defensively. And that right there is why you don't park in the front row.
Prime example. The only biggest thing when you get a foul ball, it's the ineptive, take a deep breath in and then see if it's going to hit something, and then you're hoping that you don't hear an ouch or a nice groan from the home audience.
Everyone loves to catch a foul ball. They don't love to catch a foul ball in the windshield. Count 1 ball and 2 strikes on Cetera. And he looks at a called strike 3. So with the strikeout, Hawbaker brings the second inning to a close. The Dolphins go down 1-2-3 once again. They trail 7-0.
Cobra, a taco joint, Staten Island, where we're proud to have shared our family-first spirit with people from throughout New York City and the world. With indoor dining available both at the bar and on the floor. Or step outside for additional seating and an outdoor bar. Serving beer that's crisp, ice cold, and worthy of a day at the beach. Cocktails that explode with flavor. And great food made with the freshest and healthiest ingredients available. Events feature food and drink specials. Live music. And the best of Staten Island nightlife. Your CSI Student ID saves you 10% on your dine-in order at Hobra. Visit us at 412 Forest Avenue, Staten Island.
And we're back from the CSI Baseball Complex where the Dolphins trail 7-0. Start of the third inning. And at the plate here, Braden Coleman'sberger. Coleman'sberger had a nice game one, as I mentioned before. It's been a good day overall at the plate for Goldey-Beacom. Coleman'sberger, 2 for 3 with a pair of RBIs. Now, the question, Nick, that we've now added our camera's audio is, are we getting sounds of the game from out in right field? What exactly are we getting from our audio in right field? I'm curious to know what it's picking up.
I'm not sure.
All right.
But there is, as you see, there is audio going.
Well, another one of those front row vehicles took a foul ball there.
We should just put a barricade there for people. That way they can't park.
We need some traffic cones in those spots.
Yeah.
As Coleman'sberger hits one on a line to center, and Kehoe makes the catch on the run. That ball was hit well once again, and we've seen a lot of that from Goldey-Beacom early in this game. Dolphins bullpen has begun stirring here. See if we can get an eye on who's throwing. That might be Dennis Kelly, number 36.
That's how I think it is as well.
The binoculars are in the stats bag.
The only binoculars that we need right now are our own eyes.
That's right. Kalen Camps, the batter. Don't need binoculars to see him.
I hope not.
Nick and I seated right behind home plate calling baseball for the first time since last May. We called baseball from the right field corner over the summer and from behind the center field wall over the summer.
And we got one game in at the Ferry Hawks before you went on your Florida trip.
That's a good point. So way to blow up my spot there, Nick.
I didn't want to correct you, but technically we called one already.
Technically we called that from along the first base line. Though
Yes.
we're very close to the plate. Very close.
Yeah. I didn't blow up your spot for the games that we called this summer, though, at least.
Well, the games we called in the summer were at the New York State Little League Baseball Championship. Nick and I will be back with the PDF Sports Network this year. And chance would have it that while we were calling those games, our athletic communications content creator, Marquise Pickering, was on the other side of a 20-foot fence that separates the swim club from the baseball field, shooting a swimming event.
The amount of times we wanted to jump in that pool was probably relentless. That's a strikeout right there to start off the inning, or get the second out of the inning.
So Santorello strikes out Camps. And there are now 2 away in the inning. Coming to the plate will be Nathan Turner.
I felt like that was torture for us, just seeing, because it was so many hot days that we had there, and then seeing that pool behind us.
The weather outside was stifling. It was very hot.
We've already made the joke on the air just a couple weeks ago about what my face looked like after one of those games.
You had a bit of a red hue to your face, just a bit.
Just a bit.
As that's hit a mile high out to center. More work out there for Kehoe. He's been busy. And he makes the catch to retire the side. Lightning go down 1-2-3 in the third. Dolphins still trail 7-0.
No, I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese.
Here we are, 200 episodes later, about 150 episodes with guests, our friends, soon to be your friends.
Well, it's pretty clear, Joe, that it's all about You Know I'm Right, the podcast. That's my You Know I'm Right moment. Wanted to do a podcast, and everyone was like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to listen? You're not going to get guests. Well, guess what? I'm the best when it comes to getting guests. You could vouch for that.
I am so happy that you asked me to do this. I couldn't have been more thrilled. And follow us on socials, check us out. I promise you, if you want to work in media, whether you work in media now, whether you want to quit your job and work in media, come to us, and I promise you, we will get you on the right foot.
That's what it's all about, uncovering the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Keep it locked on You Know I'm Right.
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex, where the new pitcher for Goldey-Beacom is Will Wyman. Making his 4th appearance of the season, he's pitched to an ERA of an even 3 across 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. That run was earned. He walked 4 and struck out 1, opposing batters hitting .250 against him.
I'm I'm wondering if the audience at home picked up the radio comm that came up here telling us about the new pitcher.
Every once in a while, we get some radio communications from the dugout with the substitutions. That's always helpful.
Very helpful. Especially for the last game where we had the replacement of catcher. We definitely needed that. So
that number was obstructed pretty well.
It was very, very obstructed. But
we got confirmation by checking the roster and looking at the catchers. We knew there were only a handful of potential options, and very fortunately, number 9 replaced number 10. We didn't have to look very far.
That was a good point. So now we come into the bottom of the third inning, Joe. CSI is trailing 7-0. Obviously still looking for their first hit. Now you're facing a new pitcher, and I'm wondering for Goldey-Beacom if they're doing type of, what we see in Major League Baseball where they do a reliever game where they get one reliever out, he goes 2 innings, then they bring another reliever in to get maybe 2+ innings. What can the Dolphins do essentially with them trailing 7-0 and now having to face potentially a couple more pitchers left in this game?
Well, your approach can't change here if you're the Dolphins. A third of their lineup still hasn't gotten an at-bat. So when you're getting your first at-bat of the game, you have to treat it like it's any other at-bat. And you need to look to get on base and set the table first and foremost if you're Jaden Waterman here, as he will lead off for CSI in the third. But the rest of the Dolphins hitters just have to get on base. And perhaps when you get a bit closer, you start thinking about finding some gaps in the outfield and doing a bit more than just moving the line. But trailing by 7, base runners, paramount, of the most importance, and Waterman hopes to get on to lead off here in the home third.
And Waterman again the starter at second base today for the Dolphins. We saw him start in one of the games for the Dolphins against the Ferry. I shouldn't say against the Ferry Hawks, but at the Ferry Hawks.
At the Ferry Hawks.
Yeah. So Waterman will lead off the inning here for CSI as they try to get back into this game down 7-0.
And you mentioned the potential bullpen game for the Lightning. Their first 2 pitchers who have come into this game previously had not started this season. Also keep in mind the Lightning played 4 games over a 2-day stretch last time out as Waterman slices one into the right center field gap, and that falls for a base hit. And just like that, the Dolphins have a leadoff base runner. But, Nick, the Lightning played 4 games between Friday and Saturday. Both of those games, or I should say, both of those days, saw the Lightning play a very familiar team to the Dolphins in ECC foe Queens College.
So they're not too familiar with these ECC opponents, obviously mentioning the matchup with Queens College, and now trying to get this doubleheader here from the Dolphins as Nick Campisi coming up to the plate and takes the first pitch for a ball.
As I mentioned before, Campisi will just hope to keep the line moving. Don't expect to see him chase anything until, at the very earliest, he has a strike in this at-bat. That one's fouled away. That may have been a bit low.
You were saying?
Expected a bit more of a patient approach here.
Well,
you know that Campisi and Rodriguez would love to send it back to the top of the lineup with a couple of men on, no more than 1 out.
Well, one testament to the Dolphins is the bottom of the lineup has done wonders for them so far to start the season, and they've given the top of the lineup a lot of opportunities to bring home runners on scoring position. So a lot of credit right now given to the bottom of this order for CSI.
Pitch on its way from Wyman, and that's a good breaking ball. That catches the inside corner for a called strike 3.
Now on freezing Campisi right there. Good breaking ball. We saw that also in game 1 with Jump with his breaking ball as well, fooling the Dolphins. And a good pitch from Wyman to get the first out of the inning, bringing up the Dolphins shortstop Nicholas Rodriguez.
I don't know what you're thinking, Nick, but I'm thinking Lou has found his calling on PA. He's having a grand old time in there.
I've told him multiple occasions that he's doing very good. I even said it last season.
He's having fun.
It
sounds like he's enjoying himself.
But that's the whole purpose. You're supposed to have fun.
I'm starting to question whether or not I'm having enough fun when I'm on the microphone listening to Lou.
You sounded like you were having fun when you were doing it.
Good. Don't believe everything you hear.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I won't mention that to anyone else that's here.
Maybe not. My home is at the broadcast desk. If I'm not at the broadcast desk, I'm probably not at the game, as they'll throw behind the runner Waterman, and he's back in safely.
Just got in time.
Nicholas Rodriguez, a winner of the East Coast Conference Rookie of the Week award a couple of weeks back. Over on the softball diamond, Eileen Balderas, the reigning East Coast Conference Player of the Week. Leading the conference right now, or at least as of the time of her nomination, in just about every offensive category as that slices toward the line, and it gets away from the right fielder, Charles. Waterman will advance to second, and it's a one-out single for Nicholas Rodriguez. The Dolphins now have 2 on and just 1 out.
Rodriguez, we talked about, Joe, has had himself a nice start to this season. I mentioned it in Game 1, had that thrilling walk-off hit against Holy Family to give the Dolphins a 1-0 win in that second game of the doubleheader against the Tigers. He's had himself a very nice start to his Dolphin career.
No question about it. Another base hit here will bring up Michael Kehoe. Runners on first and second, 1 out. And if you're the Dolphins, at the very least, you have to get a run in this inning. You'd like to get more. But with the top of your order coming up and a runner in scoring position, you need one of these hitters to come through if you're CSI.
This is where I talked about earlier, where the bottom of the order gives this top of the lineup now an opportunity to bring home some runs.
And that's off the fists. It lands on the infield, and the Lightning have no play. Bases now loaded for CSI on a bloop single by Michael Kehoe on the infield. That barely cleared the mound, and that's about as unusual of a hit as you will see on the infield.
There's realistically no play Coleman'sberger could have made to throw it at first. Even if he was able to field it in time, Kehoe ran down the line very, very quickly. So a bad now for the Dolphins. Michael Palermo, bases loaded, 1 out. And you mentioned it, Joe, the Dolphins have to try at least to get 1 run in this inning.
And that's sliced down the line for a base hit. 1 run in to score. Here comes Rodriguez as the ball gets away. And in your estimation, Nick, did that miscue afford any of the runners an extra base?
I would say for Palermo, him getting to second base would be the error on that play. Because Palermo would have stayed at first had not that ball bounced off the left fielder. But because of it bouncing off, it allowed him to go into second base. So I'm curious how you score that one, but there should be an error on the play just because of the runner advancing from first to second.
There is certainly an error on that play out in left field. They'll get that up on the scoreboard in just a moment as Chris Palomini came up empty on the half swing. I'm with you, Nick. I'm not sure he reaches second without the error, but...
And you could see there was a slight hesitation from Palermo because he was running. Don't get me wrong. He was running to first. But when he saw the ball bounce off the left fielder, that's when he started going into second base. He would have stayed at first, give that old. Give it that, usually when you get that base hit, you take that wide turn off of the first base bag and see where the ball is. He was going to do that, but then once he saw where the ball was, that's when he made his turn to second base.
Well, Michael is going to wish he didn't hesitate when he looks back at the box score and sees a single, but that's the right scoring. And Chris Palomini is behind 1 and 2, 2 in scoring position, 1 out. And if you're the Dolphins, you need at least a ball in play to get the run in, and that will do it. Wild pitch to the backstop, and Kehoe is in to score. Moving up to third is Palermo, and it's now 7-3 Goldey-Beacom.
CSI now making this one interesting, Joe. Still only 1 out in the inning. And obviously, Palomini, even if it was a ground ball, could still bring home that runner and make it a 3-run game. So the Dolphins necessarily wouldn't mind it if they got a ground ball out here, but obviously you want a single.
That sliced foul.
Nice catch.
What a grab.
Nice catch.
In the top row of the stands, a barehanded grab.
Whoever's car was near there. They should be giving that guy some money.
A very thankful vehicle owner who will never know just how lucky they are as that's slapped over to first. That will get the run in. And the Dolphins are now within 3 as Chris Palomini delivers an RBI ground ball.
So CSI now back into this game, Joe, after trailing 7-0, a nice 4 spot in the inning, and that's exactly what you needed to do to get back into this game. Getting at least some runs to make this interesting, and now with 2 outs in the bottom of the third, Vigliotti will try to keep the inning going for CSI.
So right now, that run would be unearned because Palermo should have been on second base. So depending on what happens here, that run may stay unearned. We'll see. Our official scorer, seated right next to us, of course, Stephanie behind the keyboard today. Lewis looked over with a hint of jealousy when he arrived, but he settled in nicely next door.
The question is, does he prefer stats or PA now?
I don't think there's a question. He prefers stats.
Well, he is some.
He'll get over it.
He's one that knows numbers. I'm not.
No, me either. That's fouled straight back by Vigliotti. Took a healthy cut at that 2-0 pitch. Count now 2 balls and 1 strike on the Dolphins' designated hitter. And the 2-1 misses down and away.
This is big now for CSI, Joe, because obviously trailing by 3, you're most likely going to be going to the bullpen in the next half inning. So this bullpen will have to try to keep it within reach for CSI if they want to get back into it.
That pitch misses up and away for ball 4. So Vigliotti draws a walk, and now the man with our favorite walk-up in the game, Thomas Martin, comes to the plate.
And I told you, you weren't here for when I made the call in Game 1, but Thomas Martin at that point, when he got a base hit, got the Dolphins their 3rd hit of the game, and I made the infamous comment I made from over the week against the Ferry Hawks. I said it against the Ferry Hawks again, but number 33 got the Dolphins their 3rd hit of the game.
3s all over the place. We love it. As Martin gets ahead 1-0.
I've heard that's someone's favorite number.
Dolphins would love 3 more runs in this game, that's for sure.
That's definitely for sure. But they might be okay with 4 as well.
They'd be okay with 2 right here.
Yes.
Martin certainly a home run candidate as he takes up high. Now, the wind is blowing right to left. If you take a look at the flag in left field, which makes it all the more surprising that that base hit sliced toward the right field line earlier in the inning. I was a bit surprised to see the ball travel that way. It looked like the wind killed it. That came way back earlier in the inning. As Martin takes a strike and the count's now 2-1.
So a couple of home runs as well at the Ferry Hawks from the Dolphin hitters. Can they get maybe one here? You mentioned Martin. He has that home run capability.
That pitch misses up and away.
And if he gets on, he would bring the tying run up to the plate.
Tying run in the on-deck circle, Anthony Cetera. Comes the 3-1. That's hit the other way out to right. Once again, battling the sun is Charles, but he makes the catch, and the side is retired. However, the Dolphins score 4 times in the inning on 4 base hits, helped along by an error. Our score now Goldey-Beacom 7, Staten Island 4.
As a student athlete in college, I first got involved with the NCAA at the national level. It was through the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, SAC, gave me an opportunity to advocate on behalf of all student athletes, to affect change and to make an impact. The NCAA is giving the student athlete a platform to voice their concerns and to be able to advocate for what's going to affect their well-being. The policies that are being put in place are speaking towards academics, they're speaking towards well-being, they're speaking towards fairness, creating a culture so that the student athletes have the best experiences possible.
And we're back here on CSI Sportsnet, where upon his exit, we get confirmation that Michael's last name is pronounced Santoriello. I had it correct to start the game, so we apologize to Michael for butchering his name for 3 innings. We have it for next time, as the new pitcher for the Dolphins will be number 36, Dennis Kelly. And Kelly will face the bottom half, or I should say the bottom of this Lightning lineup, 9-1-2. Due up for Goldey-Beacom here in the 4th. And, Nick, the Dolphins need a 0 up on the scoreboard in this spot.
And if they're going to have any chance to keep this game within reach, they absolutely need to not allow a run in this half inning. Now 7-4 game. You've certainly made this one interesting with that previous 4 spot that you got in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Can CSI, we saw, unfortunately, they were on the wrong side of a comeback against Caldwell a couple of days ago. Can they now be on the right side of a comeback here today?
And it's something we've learned from watching this Dolphins team over the last several years. For me, this is now year 9 calling Dolphins baseball, but never count the Dolphins out. Doesn't matter how many runs they are down or sometimes how many runs they're up. These games always seem to get interesting. It never fails, whether they're leading or trailing. There always seems to be some late-game drama here at the CSI Baseball Complex, and if there's one rule of tuning into our broadcasts, it's never tune out too early.
Always have to tune in to make sure what you see, because you always have to expect the unexpected. That's what I like to say.
That's a good way to put it. And I'm sure the Lightning, ahead 7-0, expected that they should be able to win this game. The Dolphins now have put some pressure on. It's still a 3-run game as Bobby Stewart looks at strike one. He's 0 for 1 at the plate, struck out his first time up. And that's chopped toward the middle, and Waterman can't get there. And that's a leadoff base hit.
Nice start to the inning right there for Goldey-Beacom, and really no play for Waterman at second from where he was positioned. Was not going to be able to dive down and make the attempt at first base. So the Lightning get an early leadoff single to start the fourth.
That will bring up Christian Petrillo. Petrillo is 0 for 1. Comes to the plate here with a man on and nobody out.
And Joe, be wary. He could bunt. We've seen a couple of bunt attempts from him in these 2 games so far.
That's a good call, Nick, as he takes up high for ball 1 right there. Want to know the count on the Lightning center fielder. Stewart's going. Throw from Campese, a bit offline towards shortstop, and it's a stolen base for Stewart. And it just seems like if the pitcher for the Dolphins, whoever that may be in the game, isn't paying a great deal of attention, the Lightning immediately sees the opportunity to run.
And we saw a couple of times in game 1 where the Dolphins would. We're going to have a balk, Joe. I couldn't even finish my sentence.
Well, that is a balk. So if I'm not mistaken, you go to the base runner and put in a BK there. Let's see if that does it. That does. I still have some stats knowledge up there in my head somewhere.
Well, with that balk now, Joe, it's going to force the Dolphins' corners to go in.
So the Dolphins will bring Martin and Cetera in, playing right on the lip of the infield grass. Regular depth up the middle, as CSI will hope to cut down the 8th Lightning run at the plate. And if you're the Dolphins, that's a lot like what happened in Game 1. A base runner gets on, and if you issued a walk or it was one of those
wild pitches,
soft base hits,
yeah,
you then compound that with wild pitches, perhaps an error, in that case a balk. And that's really hurt them today. If the Dolphins clean up some of those small mistakes, that first game looks very different, especially if they're able to record a big third out, which eluded them in Game 1.
And they're hopeful that they can get out of this jam here, keep this a 3-run game.
That pitch misses for ball 4, so a big payoff pitch there from Kelly just missed. He didn't like the call, but back to my previous point, time and time again in Game 1, the Dolphins had a chance to pick up a big third out and limit the damage. They didn't, and those turned into some crooked innings. The big one, of course, a 4-run inning for the Lightning in that first game. At the plate now, Anthony Charles. He's 0 for 2 in this game and takes high for ball 1.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Petrillo at first base try to steal second. The Dolphins will have to potentially try to cut it off to avoid that runner from third going home.
Runner going from first, and that's hit the other way. Ranging to his left to make the backhanded catch was Palermo. Forced to go back to first was Petrillo. And in to score, the 8th Lightning run is Stewart. It's now 8-4.
And now 8-4 game on that sacrifice fly. Good thing for the Dolphins here, Joe, now is with that runner going back to first, they're back into double play territory here, so double play ball can get them out of the inning.
Dolphins will certainly be looking for a ground ball here to try and get Kelly through this inning a bit more quickly. But going back once again, the balk allowing the runner to take third. may cost the Dolphins here, especially if they get that double play grounder. And Petrillo's running Campese from his knees. Throws one nearly into center field, backed up well by Waterman. That's 2 throws from Campese that have been a bit off the mark.
Good thing for him that Waterman was there on the backup. Otherwise, the Petrillo would have been at third base.
You can see he's got a great arm behind the plate. Just hasn't had the accuracy in this half inning. That's at a mile high toward the right field line, and Martin's got it. Now, in my peripheral vision, I thought Petrillo was almost at third base when Martin caught the ball.
He was making a beeline for that third base, but he stopped as soon as Martin threw the ball. Martin made a good throw to third base.
2 away in the inning now. And by my estimation, Nick, if the run that came in was not balked over to third, that run still has not scored.
I would agree with you on that one.
So that balk looming large right now. But on a positive note for the Dolphins, Kelly appears to have settled down since. That ball was hit pretty well to left 2 batters ago, but that's what your outfielders are there for. At the plate now is Kyle Walker. He's 1 for 2. Bats here with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs. Behind in the count 0-1. And he fouls one straight back.
And we saw in the game against Caldwell, where Caldwell had 4 balks in that game. That's really what hurt them in that game against the Dolphins, and CSI was able to take advantage of those mistakes from the Cougars. Now the Dolphins are hoping that obviously right now it does hurt them in the end of things, but they can still get back into this game if they can keep it within 4.
No balls and 2 strikes the count, and time is called. Dolphins can limit the damage to 1. It doesn't sting that badly. If another run comes in to score in this half inning, then it really hurts.
Now forces a mound visit here for CSI. Is Kelly trying to get that final strike to get the Dolphins out of the inning and keep it 8-4.
That's a run over at second base that if you're the Dolphins, needs to be stranded. Can't afford to have that run come in here. Given how the inning started, to get out of this one, just allowing a run, I'm sure you'll take it. And on top of that, with a very busy week still to come, there'll be an action on both Friday and Saturday. CSI Baseball, probably on their minds right now, is how much pitching they use. We're over at softball tomorrow, back here at the baseball complex on Friday and Saturday. That pitch misses high for ball 1.
You know, it's funny, Joe, because I'm looking at our camera in right field and I'm seeing Chris Polomini in right field. He has to keep putting his glove over his hat to see where the pitch is going because of the sun.
As I mentioned before, the sun sets behind the plate at softball, and it gives us quite the glare on our broadcasting monitor. Not fun for us. I can't imagine it's any better for an outfielder. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And that's grounded softly to third. Sotera thought about a tag, and the throw was a bit down the line, but good stretch by Martin to complete the putout at first base, retires the side. The Lightning strand 1 in scoring position, but they do get a run back as Goldey-Beacom now leads Staten Island 8-4.
Being a champion takes more than talent, more than the perfect pass, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the spirit to always push harder, the ability to overcome any hurdle, and the fire to be the best. Welcome to Division 2, where the pursuit is yours to create. And the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex where zero, Lance Hinton is the new pitcher. Now, those who have tuned in to our Sportsnet broadcasts over the years know that we do not say number 0 here on Sportsnet. It is 0.
I have unfortunately made that mistake before, but I've now corrected myself since. And we were waiting to get on the air, but we were waiting to see how Lou would pronounce it, unfortunately.
Unfortunately for Lou, he went with number 0.
Yes. But all great minds do make that mistake sometimes here and there. Maybe not you, but I've
Not anymore.
Yeah,
it's been many, many years since I made that error. We don't do that here.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I was going to say something else, but that wasn't PG.
Save that for off the broadcast, Joe.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
Anthony Sotero will be the batter. He's 0 for 1. Struck out his first time up, and I'll get you the numbers for Hinton in just a moment. His first pitch on its way, and that's hit in the air toward foul ground. And the catch is made there by his first baseman, Miller. For Hinton on the season, comes in with an ERA of 3. Across 3 appearances, all in relief, he's pitched 3 innings, allowed 2 hits and 3 runs, 1 of those earned. He has walked 3 and struck out 1. Opposing batters hitting just 167 against him.
And he got a nice 1 pitch, 1 out to start this 4th. Now bringing up the Dolphins' second baseman, Jaden Waterman.
Can't ask for any better than that. 1 pitch, 1 out, as Waterman takes outside.
And if you're a Goldey-Beacom, you'd definitely like to see that because with you doing a bullpen game right now, you would like to have a couple of innings out of your relievers.
Pitch on its way, and that's swung on and missed by Waterman. Count 1 ball and 1 strike on the Dolphins' second baseman. Waterman with a base hit his first time up. Got the rally started in the last inning, and first base umpire is going to say he went around there. One and 2 pitch on its way. And that's on the inside corner for a called strike 3. Waterman couldn't believe it. And it's not often you see a pitcher get that call on a drop third strike.
I will say, Joe, the last game for CSI in game 1, they were very, I wouldn't say vocal, but they seemed a little bit displeased at the strike zone that was happening in game 1. And I can't say I really blame Waterman for that last pitch. It looked a little bit inside on that one.
That's a good word for it, displeased. Nick Campisi, the batter here. And he hits one hard on the ground to short. It's handled there by Colmansberger, and Campisi is thrown out. So it's a very quick 1-2-3 inning for 0. Lance Hinton in relief. Our score remains Goldey-Beacom 8, Staten Island 4. And we are back here in our home base, the press box.
Come on,
for the
man.
5th inning, as we had a conversation during the break.
Am I the roadkill today?
Perhaps. Apparently, it has come to my attention, Nick, that during Game 1, you called home plate, home base accidentally.
I did.
And Lewis was very quick to throw you under the bus after he said number 0 during the last half.
To think I was complimenting him all day.
I know. You may have to take those back.
Listen, Lou was trying to do the same thing at the Ferry Hawks last week. So
Was he?
Well, it was more of this. We had a play where a ball was hit toward the dugout, and it was the infamous, error, non-error thing. And I immediately did not look at Lou. He looked towards me, and I said to Lou, I was like, I would have given you the benefit of the doubt, but you did it to yourself.
So it was a routine play, but he was unsure.
He wasn't unsure. He was trying to make sure. I'll get to it in a second.
As that's a base hit through the left side for Demetrius Johnson. One pitch and a base runner once again for the Lightning here in the fifth.
Because remembering the first game against Caldwell, we had that instance, and you looked towards that room.
I sure did.
Because of that. So he was expecting me to do the same thing on Sunday, and I did it. But then he looked over to me, and I said, well, you did it to yourself, Lou. Now I have to talk about it.
Seems fair to me. But I also see his point. A guy who calls home plate home base shouldn't be getting on someone for number 0 instead of 0.
I didn't get on him about it. It was more you.
You kind of joined in a bit there.
But I've admitted that I've done that before.
You did. It was more off the air that you joined in than on the air. You're very diplomatic on the headset.
Yeah.
I'm a bit more unpredictable.
Unpredictable is a good word.
I'm a bit more, I'm going to get you if you make a mistake.
Get you.
Pitch on its way, and that misses high and outside. At the plate here for the Lightning is Coleman'sberger. Braden 1 for 2 in this game. Has a run batted in. And a chance here to get a good pitch ahead 2-0. There goes the runner from first. Swing and a miss. Throw to second. Not in time.
Rodriguez was not able to make the scoop regardless of the throw to second base, so another stolen base for the Lightning here today.
Goldey-Beacom having a really nice game on the base paths. They've run all over the Dolphins so far. Two and one the count. Kelly took a look over his shoulder there. He'll check again as he comes set. Here's the 2-1. There's a swing and a miss for strike 2.
Another inning, Joe, where the Dolphins can't really afford to give up a run here if they want to get back into this game. Now the 5th inning of a 7-inning game. You want to keep this within 4 to have a chance to win this one.
There's a big out here for Kelly. If he can get the out without the runner advancing, that could go a long way. A walk isn't the worst thing, but a strikeout would be much better if you're the Dolphins.
You would certainly love that because then it would give you first out of the inning and then avoid any pressure later on. So now 2-2 coming up for Kelly here.
Not going to lie, Nick, when you said first out of the inning, that won't do it. Coleman'sberger drilled by the pitch. I thought you said we'll give you a first down. I was very confused. I'm like, we don't call softball until the summer, Nick, or football.
See, you're mixed up too.
You're screwing with my head here.
I'll be calling football soon. Don't worry.
That's right. You have a game potentially 1 week from Saturday. We have to see how that shakes out.
That's a very busy day on that Saturday.
I have games that I cover away from the College of Staten Island as well. We cover those games primarily as both runners are going. That's it out to second on a line. I thought so. It was chopped to second. Did they get the out at first? They did. I did not see that ball bounce, Nick. Let's get a look at it on replay.
I didn't see it bounce either. I thought that was also a line drive. I'm right with you.
What an awkward play. So that ball was chopped off the infield and into the glove of the shortstop Rodriguez. He did not get to second in time to record the out.
I'll do it after this next pitch. We'll have the replay.
He just got the throw to first in time, and there's now one away in the inning. As we get another look there on replay.
It didn't look like it chopped at all.
I didn't think so off the bat. Very, very weird play.
Well, what did I say earlier, Joe?
Expect the unexpected.
There you go.
But as I was saying before, as that pitch is taken by Nathan Turner for a strike, I cover games away from CSI as well. Those primarily air on the PDF Sports Network. We have 2 games here next Saturday. We have 2 games that I'm broadcasting elsewhere next Saturday. So I'll be pulling double or triple duty here at CSI. And we'll be spread very thin. Very thin. Steph and I will be here. We'll have to see how the rest of it shakes out. Weekends typically a bit easier, so that helps. As that pitch misses outside.
Good job by Campese right there. That was just saved a run.
A walk here would not be the worst thing. It would set up a force all around, but right now the primary objective for Kelly, he needs to start throwing strikes. That's fouled straight back. And now with a full count, he will have a chance for a huge strikeout in this spot.
Dolphins certainly will love the strikeout here, but as you mentioned, the walk is necessarily not the worst thing in this scenario for CSI.
Count 3-2. And that's it out to center. That should bring in a run, no problem. Kehoe will come up throwing to third, and they'll have no play there either, as it's a sacrifice fly for Nathan Turner, and the lead is back to 5. Goldey-Beacom in front, 9-4.
And that chopped ball now that we saw earlier, that's now playing a big part in this game because Dolphins could have had an opportunity potentially to turn a double play and maybe get out of this inning unscathed, but now sacrifice fly there, and that makes it a 9-4 lead for the Lightning.
That will bring up Bobby Stewart. And he hits one well out to left center field, and that will find the gap for an extra base hit. That rolls and comes to rest just shy of the warning track. The 10th Lightning run comes in to score. And it's an RBI double for Stewart, as Goldey-Beacom now leads at 10-4.
The 9th hit now of the game for the Lightning, and we talked about it in Game 1. They didn't necessarily out-hit the Dolphins that much to get the win over CSI, but now 9 hits so far here in the top of the 5th inning, and now they have a 10-4 lead.
Back to the top of the order for the Lightning, as Christian Petrillo will be the batter. Petrillo is 0 for 1. Comes to the plate here with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs. And that has to be a bit demoralizing as that's sliced toward the line and out of play foul. But if you're the Dolphins, to see a 2-out run come in that spot really hurts. And now each of the last 2 innings the Lightning have scored. That was right after CSI pulled to within 3. And now the Dolphins have a lot of work to do in the last 3 innings of this game to get back in this one and potentially steal a win.
It would be an all-important win if CSI could get it.
Conference play in baseball sneaks up on us pretty quickly. I think next weekend opens the conference schedule, if I remember correctly. I think the Dolphins are hosting conference games at both baseball and softball. We have the schedule in front of us on the computer as that's hit well out to left field. And ranging back and looking up was the left fielder, Palermo. It one-hops the fence. And heading for third is Petrillo. He is in sliding with an RBI triple. 3 runs home in the inning for Goldey-Beacom. They now lead 11-4.
And another gapper for the Lightning. They have just been tearing up the baseball here today at the baseball complex. An 11-4 lead now for Goldey-Beacom as they have now attacked for 4 in the inning.
Petrillo smoked that ball out to left field. And I wasn't sure the ballpark was going to be big enough to contain that one off the bat.
Did look like it was going to go over the wall for a home run.
That probably landed about 2 or 3 feet shy of the fence and hit the wall on a hop. As that pitch is taken outside to even up the count at 1-1 strike on Anthony Charles.
Now, I think on that day, the 23rd, Joe, I think that's when we start conference play. The Dolphins taking on Deauville for both softball and baseball.
So both baseball and softball face Deauville? I don't think so. I think
baseball plays Mercy.
Right.
Excuse me.
Right. As they complete the put out at first, Martin had to avoid Charles, but no harm comes of that as the side is retired, but not before Goldey-Beacom adds 3 runs to their lead. They are back in front by 7. Our score, the Lightning 11 and the Dolphins 4.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Nicholas Rodriguez will lead things off for the Dolphins here in the home 5th inning. And the Dolphins need runs, now trailing by 7 once again. They battled back from down 7-0 and cut the lead to 3. Our score through 3 was 7-4. But the Lightning have gotten those 4 runs back over the last 2 innings and now lead it 11-4. As Rodriguez takes ball 1. He's 1 for 1 at the plate in this game. He takes out of the zone for ball 2. Lance Hinton back to the rubber for Goldey-Beacom. Set the Dolphins down without incident in the 4th. And Rodriguez swings to that pitch. A big swing it was.
Rodriguez looking to make some noise here at the bottom of the 5th at CSI now. Once again, trailing by 7 runs in this game.
Comes the 2-1. That's fouled back. Dolphins being out hit in this game 10-4 after, as Nick mentioned, game 1 saw the hit tally Lightning 7, Dolphins 6. Comes the 2-2. That breaking ball misses high. Count now full on the Dolphins shortstop. Hinton comes set. Payoff pitch is on its way. That's swung on and missed for strike 3.
You know, we usually say for basketball, it's a game of runs. It seems like it's kind of had that feeling in this game today where obviously Goldey-Beacom got out to that early 7-0 lead. The Dolphins made it a 3-run game, and now it's back to 7 once again. It seems as if the momentum's going all the way towards Goldey-Beacom.
Dolphins pulled to within 3. And there was some life in this building, some energy on that bench. The Dolphins had a really nice 3rd inning at the plate. And since then, the Lightning have reasserted themselves as their bats continue to be red hot in this game. They have 10 hits, but not only do they have 10 hits, they've hit the ball really well.
Yeah, they've hit it pretty much to all parts of the Dolphins' outfield in this game. And it's a credit to those 10 hits they have so far in this one.
There's a swing and a miss on a 2-0 pitch by Michael Kehoe for strike 1. Kehoe at the plate in this game is 1 for 2. 2-1 on its way. That's chopped toward 3rd. Handled cleanly. Double clutch there. And Kehoe is out. We'll check that on replay.
I don't know about that one.
I mean, that was as nonchalant as it gets over 3rd by Walker. Strong throw right on the money. We'll perhaps slow it down as well. See if the replay provides any clarity. We'll get that replay for you following the next pitch. And that's hit in the air by Michael Palermo out to left. Easy play there for Johnson, and the side is retired. Here's another look at that replay.
You see the ground ball to 3rd. It's
Can
tough.
you see the ball there? I can't.
I can't really see it.
I'm inclined to say he was safe based on that replay, but it's really impossible to tell from this distance. As we are going to have a pitching change when we come back, our score heading to the 6th. Goldey-Beacom 11, Staten Island 4.
When all eyes are on the court, we're focused on what matters most, preparing college athletes for a lifetime of opportunity. After the buzzer, off the court, it's about education and working to earn a degree. Creating healthier campuses through groundbreaking research and policies. And a fair shot so dreams can stay on track. United as an association, we've got work to do. We're building a pathway to lifelong opportunity.
Now pitching for your Dolphins, number 39, Andrew Osorio.
All right, we have some defensive alignment changes. Stephanie will pass those over to us once she inputs them in our stats program. I'll try and eyeball some.
So I see Bartnick is at first.
We do have a new pitcher. Andrew Osorio into the game for the Dolphins. 6 foot, 180-pound freshman right-hander.
I see Joe Salito now at short.
Yes. The infield is the same minus Bartnick and Salito. That much I can see. Waterman is still at second. Cetera still at third.
I think that's still Palermo on left.
Campisi remains behind the plate as well.
Is Keogh still in center field?
I believe so.
So I think it's Salito and Bartnick are the only substitutions for CSI other than the pitching change.
Got it. Andrew Osorio, as I mentioned, is the new pitcher for the Dolphins. He's appeared in one game. In an inning and 2/3, he allowed 4 hits, 4 runs. All of those were earned. He walked 3. And opposing batters hitting .444 against him in a small sample size. Darren Miller will lead things off against Osorio here in the 6th inning. Miller in this game 1 for 3. Pair of RBIs. That's chopped foul. So tomorrow, dress warm, Nick, we have a very rare late afternoon softball doubleheader. We expect to be on the air, assuming they don't start early, at about, I'd say, 2:45. We did promise an extended Game 2 pregame ahead of this game.
We were not.
Did not deliver.
Yeah.
I take responsibility, though we had a lot going on up here in the box.
We did.
Hopefully we get a pregame in tomorrow.
We'll have to see what tomorrow brings in store. As the Dolphins softball team is back for their first games from their Florida trip.
Comes to 2-1. And that is ripped foul. I
Any,
haven't gotten a chance to talk about the Florida trip on air yet.
Any stories from the Florida trip that you want to, that are at least able
Not
to
that
bring
I
up?
can share on here.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know if it was good enough.
Nothing I can share on the air, but I can say about the games. First of all, as always, it's a great time going down there and getting to call some games in warmer weather without the threat of rain knocking us off the air. Would I prefer to do it without having to stat the game at the same time? Yes.
Yeah.
But we make do. And the first 3 days down there in Florida, for me specifically the first 2, since we had other plans on day 3, but those first 2 days, those games were about as good as it gets. And day 3, perhaps, was the best day of them all. The SIDs from the other schools CSI was playing were in attendance, which means that I was there on vacation. So I got to make other plans, and I went down to Steinbrenner Field and caught the Yankee game. I arrived back in time to catch the second softball game. The Dolphins won on a walk-off play at the plate on a putout from right field by Avery Mockery. And here, Darren Miller will lead off the 6th with a base hit, and then an error in left will allow him to advance to second.
That's a tough play for Palermo because that took a weird bounce in the outfield.
It did.
For him to play that one.
It did. That will bring up Kyle Walker.
So officially, Joe, that's going to go down as a single and an error?
Correct.
Okay. So we need to have 2 errors now. I think we're right? We have 2 errors for the Dolphins now for this
We do.
game? Okay.
That hit was number 11 for the Lightning as Walker looks to strike. Now, speaking of Walker, we did go back and watch that play again from the previous inning, and upon a more detailed review and a closer look, it appeared Kehoe was safe. Though that looked apparent in real time. To us, anyway.
Certainly no bias in that call.
Not on that one.
Yeah.
As there's a nice scoop over at first by Bartnick. He saved another error there. And there's one away in the inning.
I also saw you went to a hockey game. You saw the Tampa Bay Lightning play as well during your trip to Florida.
We did. So our week consisted of Monday, all day at softball. Tuesday, we were at softball for much of the day and then hit up some outlets afterward. We finished pretty late, so there wasn't much time after that. On day 3, we spent the early part of the afternoon at the Yankees game and then returned to softball, caught the second game. On Thursday, we caught both games over at softball and saw the Lightning game after. Barely made it because the Dolphins staged a 7th-inning rally where they brought the tying run to the plate. That was a good finish, but the Dolphins trailed big for much of that game. And then on Friday, we also finished very late. So we took in the softball games and then made our way down to Orlando where we spent the weekend. Can't say that I would go back to Orlando. At least not off of the resort property. It was rough down there.
Lou and I were in Orlando a couple of years ago for the NFL Pro Bowl, and we caught an Orlando Magic game that same week.
You know, the Magic and the Heat were very far, obviously, from where we stayed, but neither of those teams were there. As that's grounded over to third by Demetrius Johnson. He's thrown out at first, and there are 2 away in the inning. That will bring up shortstop, Braden Coleman'sberger. Now, his name is cut off because of how long it is. I have to keep referring back to the roster to make sure I say it correctly. Where's the printer when you need it? It's back up in my office. A lot of equipment to move from our headquarters up in the office down to the baseball field.
Good thing is, Joe, is we'll be able to keep the Sportsnet stuff in here for the night because we have softball here tomorrow.
As I mentioned before, late afternoon softball. We don't get started until 3 o'clock. I anticipate I'll be here a bit earlier than that. Just a bit. Now, with the situation on public address, we'll have to figure out exactly what we're going to do tomorrow. As that's grounded down the line, fair ball, or at least I thought so.
Thankfully it wasn't, because whoever was the guard protector in the bullpen was swatting the ball with his sweatshirt. So that would
the call was made foul.
Yeah. Thankfully it wasn't fair, because that would have been a weird sequence.
That would have been a bit awkward.
Yeah.
What I anticipate will happen is I'll start on PA over at softball and make my way over to the broadcast once help arrives. That's the likely course of action for tomorrow. Comes the 0-2. That's hit in the air, foul territory. And the Lightning bullpen parting to try and give some room to the outfielder there. Polomini ran out of space as that landed in seats. But speaking more on CSI softball rather than my very busy week, Dolphins went 2-8 down in Florida. Very, very easily could have gone 6-4 or 5-2. I think late in the week, fatigue began to set in. Those were 2 of the hottest days of the week, those last 2. And the Dolphins, on that last day, fell behind big early in a couple of games and weren't able to get back in it. But those first 3 days, the Dolphins could have won 5 out of 6. You could make the case that they could have won all 6. All of those games were decided by 1 run except for the first game. Or I should say all of the games that the Dolphins won or lost except one. So basically every game was decided by one run, except for a 4-1 win and then an 8-6 loss. But the Dolphins were right there in all of those games. And the Dolphins, and it's a stat that I had written down while we were down in Florida, as that pitch is low in the dirt and the runner will take third. So that ball in the dirt will allow the runner to advance. Miller now stands at third with 2 outs. Count 2 balls and 2 strikes. I had a stat during the week over at softball. Stats chopped foul. The Dolphins had trailed in every game with the exception of their 4-1 win by at least 2 runs. So I think it was the first 5 games they trailed by 2 or more every game except for their 4-1 win. One game they trailed, I believe it was 6-0. Another game was 5-0. Another game was 2-0. And they came back each and every time. As that fly ball to left is handled out there by Palermo, and the side is retired. We'll talk a bit more about CSI softball tomorrow. Here on the baseball diamond, the Dolphins trail 11-4, headed to the home 6th.
On and off the court, we're focused on creating lifelong opportunity, and that starts with education. More college athletes are earning degrees than ever before, but we've still got work to do. That's why we're raising the bar for incoming freshmen, so they're prepared when they get to campus. And why teams can't play in championships unless they make the grade. Education matters, and putting academics first creates a pathway to a lifetime of opportunity.
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex, where a new pitcher has come into the game for Goldey-Beacom. Luke Dresmicki into the game. And he will come in with a 7-run lead. We'll get you his numbers on the season. Dresmicki, across 3 appearances, has pitched 3 innings, allowed 2 hits and 5 runs, 4 of those earned. He has walked 2 and struck out 2. Opposing batters hitting at 182 against him. Bit of a glare
Just
on
a
our
bit.
outfield camera, and you know, Nick, with that kind of glare, I think the camera's better off behind the plate. That camera in center field will always be facing the sun here at baseball as the sun sets in the late afternoon. A little hazy. Maybe if we try and correct for the sunlight on the camera manually, it might help. But trial and error, we're learning. It's a great shot, but not exactly great lighting.
As you mentioned, though, we still have a bunch more baseball here this week, so definitely something to play with as we have 2 more games this coming week on Friday and on Saturday.
So on Saturday, we're a doubleheader at 12 and 3.
Like the same thing on Friday as well.
Okay. I might have to dip late in game 2 on Saturday. We have a big 60th birthday in the family.
Oh, very nice.
Can't miss Dad's 60th. So.
No, that's one you can't miss.
Especially with him moving to Florida in the next couple of months. He's moving to Florida. I'm taking his place in Matawan, New Jersey. So for the first time in my life, I will not be a resident of New York State.
How does that make you feel?
Well, considering where New York's at right now, kind of indifferent. I'm not sure New Jersey is in a much better situation. As we have a hit batter on the first pitch here in the home 7th. Polomini was scraped by that pitch, it appeared, and he will take first. So what we're looking at for me personally is the season ending here in the first week of May. I will be out of New York by June 1st. That will be a completely new experience for me, as I've been down the block from CSI about a 20-minute walk, 2-minute drive. As the pickoff attempt got away, Polonini will take second. And I think that one bounced. That's probably going to be an error on the pickoff. So an E1T for Stephanie over on the runner. See if that advances the runner for you. That'll do it. So my entire career here, and I call it a career because I haven't worked professionally for any other entity except myself, but I've been right down the block from CSI as a student for 4.5 years and calling games here on Sportsnet for now. This is year 9 over at baseball. Having to drive over the bridge to get here for games is going to be a completely new experience for me. Normally I can just wake up, roll out of bed, shower, and come here. And we're good.
And you said how long is that trip? A half hour? Something like that, depending on traffic?
About, with no traffic. I think,
go ahead.
Given my prowess behind the wheel, we can make it 25 minutes.
I was going to say, you got the X. I was going to say, you can ask Andrew for some tips because he's made that drive. Obviously not from the same place, but he's made the trip from Jersey here to call some of the games here at CSI.
Huge swing there at that first pitch by A.J. Vigliotti, and he's behind 0-1.
For our viewers, we don't condone reckless driving, Joe.
Certainly not. Vigliotti in this game 0 for 1. Now the question is, has our count been updating throughout the day on the live stats? I'm not sure it has.
It has not.
It has not.
It has not.
Well, that's a very easy fix.
I noticed that during game 1, but you were attending in the other room, so.
Control enter that, Steph, and you can continue inputting. Yeah, that's going to bother me. As that gets away to the backstop now.
That should be a wild pitch.
You think so?
Yeah. They took a bounce in the dirt.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see the bounce as well from where I'm seated.
Yeah, it's a wild pitch.
All right, wild pitch advances Polonini to third. Dolphins still with 6 outs to play with in this game. Did some damage back in the third. A lot of that coming before there were any outs in the inning, or at least before there were 2 outs. I think the runs all came with 1 out or more, but nonetheless, Dolphins still have a shot, but they need runs here. And Vigliotti takes strike 2. Now, we might have to do a quick deactivate and reactivate to get that pitch count. So let's try that. Two and two. Chopped foul.
Looked like Vigliotti was just a little bit out in front on that one. Looked like a breaking ball. Keeps the count at 2 and 2.
There we go.
All right.
That's a big pet peeve of mine. We need to have the pitch count in the live stats, as Vigliotti takes ball 3 outside. You can't get the full viewing experience without the live stats.
Oh, I know.
Next-gen live stats via the split box score.
Oh, I know. I saw on Friday.
It's tough. It's tough. It's very tough.
That was a very tough one.
And Vigliotti takes ball 4. So AJ's on with a walk. And the Dolphins now have runners on the corners for Chris Bartnick.
I mentioned earlier where it's kind of like that old school baseball game where you bring like the program and you have to write the lineup in and then do stuff like that. I had to write the lineup down just to forget if I wasn't out of order with the batters coming up to the plate, because obviously with no live stats, you're going to get the lineups on there.
Chris got quite the introduction from Lou next door. Emphasis on the first syllable in that last name. I love it. Bartnick getting his first at-bat. He swings and misses for strike 1.
We saw him also in the first game of this doubleheader. So once again, entering the field for the Dolphins and getting his first at-bat of the game right here.
Bartnick did not get an at-bat in game 1. In fact, I don't see him in the box score.
He certainly entered it in the game. I think he had an at-bat too.
Well, he's not here, so we'll have to get that fixed. Double checking. I don't see him. All right, we'll get that fixed in between games. That's it for a called strike. He came on as a defensive replacement late, did not get an at-bat. He did come on in the field, right?
I thought he had it at bat.
He had an at-bat?
He definitely had it at bat. I remember you announcing him in, that's why.
So do I. I'm pretty sure I announced this man into the game.
You definitely announced him for a defensive sub, but you also announced him for when he was coming up to the plate.
We didn't put him in as a pinch hitter, so we'll have to go back and take care of that. We'll find it on the live stream on demand. 2-2 the count on Bartnick, and he takes up and in for ball 3. So Bartnick now, with a full count, can load the bases with a walk.
Yeah, there's
Dolphins
one way
all of a sudden have something brewing, Nick.
If there's one way they can get back into this game, keeping this rally going with nobody out.
There's a swing and a miss, and Bartnick goes down swinging.
I'll take responsibility for that one.
You just might have to. And that will bring up Owen Weber. Now, when Owen's walk-up started, we weren't sure if we were actually hearing a lullaby next door because we didn't know what song was playing. We don't know. It's a surprise to us.
I couldn't tell you what song that is.
I couldn't either. One away in the inning, runners on the corners. And once again, behind the plate, Camp's really busy. He's had to block quite a few, has unsuccessfully tried to block some. He's been all over the place. Here comes the 1-0. That's it for a strike. I think Bartnick pinch hit for Thomas Martin in the last game. Because now it's bugging me. I'm looking back at the box score. I think Martin's third at bat was Bartnick.
I think so, too. He entered late. It was definitely late in the game.
I think it was Thomas Martin's third at bat.
I just couldn't remember. Well, no, because was he the designated hitter with Bartnick? No, Bartnick came in for Vigliotti. No?
Well, you know what?
I don't remember.
It was Vigliotti's third at bat then.
Because I thought Bartnick played first base after that.
Because Anthony Irace came in to play
Anthony
first base.
Never mind. That's what.
So he did bat for Martin.
So yeah, he batted for Martin. Yep.
Okay. I thought Martin came out late.
I knew Vigliotti checked that, but I couldn't remember if that was for Bartnick or for Irace.
Easy fix. Easy fix. Count now full on Owen Weber. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Dolphins can load the bases with a walk once again in this spot.
See if Vigliotti goes here, Joe.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
And that's sliced foul. Watch it. Ooh. Ooh.
I don't know what that made a sound off of. That didn't sound pretty.
That was a vehicle. Now you have to hope it was a hood and not a windshield. That sounded very bad.
Uh-huh.
We'll go take a look outside in between innings and report back. But that did not sound good. Here comes the 3-2. That's chopped toward the middle. Cut off at short, booted, and everyone is safe. Not an easy play there at shortstop. Charging in a very difficult spot by Coleman'sberger, but that's certainly an error, I think. Right? You agree, Nick?
I'll have to look again. I think I would probably put that down as an error. I think they could have got the play at second for sure.
I think they had an out on the play for sure. We're going to check right now. That is 100%. That is 100% an error. They had the play at first, no problem.
Second error of the game now for the Lightning. Now 6-run deficit for CSI. They keep the inning going, Joe. If they can realistically make this a 2 or 3 run ball game going into the 7th, there's still a chance for CSI to get back into this game.
If the Dolphins can get this inning back to the top of the lineup, they're in business. Because that will mean that they likely scored another run or 2, and you get your biggest bats in the lineup another chance. Michael Kehoe, Michael Palermo, Chris Polamini, and A.J. Vigliotti all still in the game at the top of the Dolphins lineup. To get there, you have Waterman at the plate. He's 1 for 2. Campisi behind him is 0 for 2. And then Salido is in the 9th place in the lineup. He has not hit yet in this game. as Waterman takes out of the zone. Now, there is action in the Lightning bullpen as well.
Now, that one I can't help you with the number because I am blocked off by the railing of...
I think it's 33, which would be Gage Bendix. There's a swing and a miss by Waterman. I think he chased that one upstairs a bit. Count now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Two and 2 on its way. And Waterman stays alive. Well, the good news is if our camera was up here, it might have been struck by that last foul ball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that light on the camera does not look good. So what we'll try and do, perhaps, maybe if we relocate to another spot in the outfield, we can avoid that a bit. Not sure what more we can do other than bring the camera back behind the plate. And Waterman's tied up on that 2-2 pitch, and he goes down swinging for a big second out.
So it'll be up to Nick Campese to keep the inning going for the Dolphins. 2 away and 2 runners on.
Well, the Dolphins in this inning have had 3 base runners without a hit. CSI still stuck on 4 hits in this game. Campese will bat here with 2 outs, 2 on. And he looks at that pitch down and in for ball 1. Here comes the 1-0. That's off the outside corner for ball 2. So in this inning, Tresmicki has had some command issues. He's had a count of at least 2 balls on just about every hitter. Here comes the 2-0. And that misses for ball 3.
Well, 3-0 count. Definitely not going to give you the green light, even with the deficit right now, but you never know.
Do we have some shrubbery in our camera?
I can't tell what that is.
I can't tell what that is either.
I thought that was maybe the glare, but it's definitely not.
Nope.
And they did give Campese the green light. Swings and misses for a strike.
Down 6, not much to lose in that spot. I'm mildly surprised he swung, though. 3-1 the count now, and the Dolphins catcher. And that pitch is swung on and missed for strike 2.
Well, now the runners will go on this 3-2 pitch. So if he can get something into the outfield, he could bring home 1, maybe even 2, depending on how far he hits it.
Three and 2 on its way. Runners going. And Campese strikes out. Dolphins strand 2 on base in the 6th. They settle for 1. Our score, Goldey-Beacom 11, Staten Island 5.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor.
It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Now pitching for your Dolphins, number 32, Matthew Polamini.
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex, where we have another new pitcher for the Dolphins. Matthew Polomini will come into the game. Right-hander, if I'm not mistaken, is the fourth Dolphins pitcher of the afternoon in this one. And he will look to get 3 outs here in the 7th and keep this a 6-run game. Kalen Campus will be the batter. Campus in this game is 1 for 3 at the plate. Base hit, couple of RBIs, strikeout. Lightning looking for some insurance here in the 7th. As Polomini comes set, pitch on the way. And that is lined right back into center field for a leadoff hit. And Nick, how many times have we said it today? The Lightning have the leadoff man on yet again.
And how many times have we also heard the crack of the bat off of a single like that for the Lightning? A ripping shot into right center field for that leadoff single.
Goldey-Beacom has hit the ball really well here in Game 2.
It's now the 12th hit of the game.
At the plate now, Nathan Turner.
Sun now definitely is setting in right field.
Turner at the plate, 1 for 2. Left-handed batter comes to the plate here with a man on, nobody out. That misses inside, it gets away, runner going. Campese throws to second, not nearly in time. Comes the 2-0. And that's it out to right, directly at the right fielder, and it does fall in front of Polomini in right. Polomini on the mound, Polomini in right field, and 2 on for the Lightning as they have runners on the corners with nobody out.
Another hard hit ball for the Lightning in this one, and really nothing Chris could do in right field, even if the sun wasn't obstructing his view. That ball fell right in front of him for that single.
First pitch on its way to Bobby Stewart, who I should say is out of the game. I'm sure you just said that, Nick, but I'm looking over at our live stats.
I did not. I did not, honestly, so you're
okay,
good. Yeah.
I was looking over at the live stats. We were about 2 batters behind, so I'm going to give that a quick refresh. And still not updating, so let me get in here quick. I probably did not restart, and I did. It does say we're updating, so that is very unusual. Count 2-0 here. Pinch hitter is Dante DeSabatino. Count now 2-1. It is a bit easier to make some changes to the stats when the computer is in front of you, I must say.
So it certainly does help.
Yeah, we're still not updating. Not exactly sure why. We were updating earlier in the inning, and it has just stopped. Weirdly enough, it says we are updating in the window here, though our internet today has been fickle at best.
Fickle, that's an interesting word. Haven't heard that in a while.
I've used it quite a bit to describe our internet here on campus. And there's another walk. That will load the bases. Jimmy Hallman will be the pinch hitter now for Goldey-Beacom as they begin to make some changes late in this game, getting some of their bench players some at-bats. What's very odd is that the count is resetting. Nothing else is resetting. Not exactly sure why. Steph, why don't you back out for 1 second and try saving the game again following this next pitch. As there's another wild pitch. It bounces in front of Campese, who blocked it. So hit the escape key and then just hit it again. Go to escape one more time. File. Save game. Enter. Go back to the score sheet. Continue scoring it. That's why I'm the best.
Our listeners getting a live, in-person talk of how to fix the stats.
Sometimes it just takes some troubleshooting. Unfortunately, I can't troubleshoot everything at once.
Yeah.
If I'm on the air, it's hard to troubleshoot the PA or the scoreboard, the camera in right field. I scaled the fence during the softball game last week and thought, you know what, there's a game going on. I probably shouldn't do this. So I was about halfway up and said, you know what, this can wait.
Yeah, not the most ideal thing to go right now.
People who didn't realize who I was might say, who's this creep peeping over the top of the fence? All you could see were my eyes over the top of the fence and a camera.
Who's this creep with the camera in right field?
All right, let's not get carried away here. How's that, Mrs. Lowe?
You just called yourself the creep. Marquise saying hello.
Marquise says hello to everyone watching at home.
Marquise was also with you in Florida for the softball trip this past week.
He was. He's yet to upload a gallery, however.
Just called them out of the air. Wow. So that walk brings home the 12th run of the game.
The walk will force in a run. If you go on our schedule page, one might say we have not uploaded a gallery since November. Just saying.
Wow, Marquise is the roadkill now.
I mean, when I get home. The one who might say that is the, not athletic communications, but the communications coordinator for all of the college, Nick Durst. He is now employed here as well, and he's looking for galleries. He doesn't know the right place to look, though.
No. Tell him I'll have it done by tonight.
There you go.
We will.
If not, fire me.
I don't think I have that authority. If I did, I might have used it earlier today. Not on you.
Yikes.
Not on you.
Yikes.
Though technically I might have that authority.
No comment. That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right, back to the action. A walk forced in a run. Another pinch hitter, Mike Baginski at the plate for Goldey-Beacom. He's ahead 2-1 now.
You mentioned Nick Durst. He was at the Ferry Hawks yesterday calling the Widener Seahawks baseball game that they had there.
Big win for the Seahawks yesterday, coming from behind to walk it off in the ninth. And
they had a big
that wasn't
day
their biggest win of the day.
That was certainly not their biggest win. They clinched an NCAA tournament bid by winning the NEC championships. Congratulations to the Seahawks. They'll be going to the Field of 68. They most likely will be playing in Dayton for their round one match. They'll find out on Sunday where they're going to be playing.
As that sails to the backstop, another wild pitch, though that was ball four. So officially it goes down as a walk. The run would have come in regardless. It's now 13-5. Now I need to find out where that game is and when it's being played because
you could make the trip. You never know.
I just might have to make an appearance at that one.
Now after Saturday, our next day here, I'm trying to think. When is the next game we have?
What is going on out in right field?
You see that now? That's a bad glare. Do you want me to change the camera?
Is that a glare?
I think it is.
I think you're right. So why don't we switch to the other camera?
Yeah. Go with the wide shot for now.
That's just irritating, that kind of glare on the screen. We might be able to zoom in a bit as well. I'll get behind the camera here. We'll zoom in just a bit on the infield.
So I'm looking at our schedule. After the 16th, our next day is the 22nd. So that would be next Friday. So I think you would be fine because usually those first 4 games after Selection Sunday are, and I'm assuming that they get selected into the first 4. I could be completely wrong, but assuming that they are selected to the first 4 games, they would be playing those on Tuesday, Wednesday, I think.
Okay.
I think that's when they play those. Because usually not many days after they make the bracket of 68. But I'm sure Joe Masha, regardless,
he's booking his flight already, or perhaps the athletic department booking it for him.
And listen, to credit to them, I mean, we talked about it yesterday, you and I. 7 players they only had play that game, and they got all the way to the championship and they won. Not an easy task.
Certainly a very impressive feat by the Seahawks as that swung on and missed for strike 3. And Darren Miller, who's one of the few starters still in the game for Goldey-Beacom, goes down on strikes. 1 away in the inning now. And Mitch Jalico will be the batter. Now, I just stood up and looked out the window to get our camera situated on the infield. And it is very cold out there.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of regretting leaving my sweatshirt in the car. It's going to be a long walk up to the third row of the parking lot after this game is over.
Yeah, I'm up there as well. I'm pretty high up there.
Yep. Are you all the way to the left?
Oh, yeah, I'm way in the
That
corner.
is where I am as well.
I'm deep in the corner of the third row. Not a
Yep.
great choice of parking space.
Well, that was for us the only spots we were, at least for me, that was the only spot that was available when I parked here after we grabbed all of our equipment. I don't know about you, per se. I don't know how many spots were up there when you were parking, but parking was very limited when I got here.
Nick, you could probably switch the camera back now.
All right.
Also, looking at our monitor and the camera angle we had of the infield there, that's a better look for the infield. We can actually see the plays at first base.
Yep.
We keep it wide so you can see the entire outfield, but I don't think you really need to look at the outfield.
Can we really see the first base though completely? Because I don't see the
switch
bag
back.
though.
Switch back.
Right. Okay. I thought you meant this camera. That's why.
Oh,
that's why
no,
I was confused.
no.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
talking about the other
the
camera.
wide shot. Yes.
Yeah, we could probably afford to zoom out just a tick.
Yeah.
As that swung on and missed for strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts for Polomini now. As the pinch hitter Jalico goes down swinging for out number 2.
Demetrius Johnson now coming up, and he's another one of those Lightning players that are still remaining in the game for Goldey-Beacom.
And I think the camera angle that we have now for the infield is our ideal camera angle. You get enough of first base. So we'll switch back one more time after this next pitch. As did that hit the runner? It did not, but the throw goes to second in time, and the side is retired. So that's a pretty good look at our infield, minus the backstop obstructing first base. Nonetheless, Lightning once again tack on 2 runs here in the 7th, and the Dolphins trail 13-5 down to their final 3 outs.
Across divisions, sports, championships, and schools for nearly 500,000 student athletes. College sports create lifelong opportunity, and that starts with education. We've raised the academic bar, so more are earning degrees, creating healthier campuses by working with the nation's brightest minds, and making sure more have the chance to succeed and are supported on their journey. But beyond the numbers, it's about opportunity, and we're working to provide it for every student athlete.
And we're back for the home 7th inning at the CSI Baseball Complex. The Dolphins trailing 13-5 in Game 2 of a non-conference doubleheader against the Goldey-Beacom College Lightning. First of 3 times that we will cover the Dolphins between now and Saturday. We have softball tomorrow. And Nick, here at the Baseball Diamond, CSI down to their final 3 outs.
And unfortunately for the Dolphins, this game, they got it to within reach after trailing at 1.7 by 7 runs. They made it a 3-run game. But unfortunately for them, the last couple of innings have gotten away. And now, down 8 here at the bottom of the 7th. Obviously, it would take a long way for CSI to get back into this one. But you at least want to get some momentum going into this week where you have obviously now 4 more games still to play on the weekend for the Dolphins.
And here in the 7th inning, the Dolphins will face Dylan Cruiser. He comes in having appeared in 1 game. He's pitched an inning, allowed 2 hits, 2 runs, both of those earned. He walked 2 and struck out 1. Opposing batters hitting an even 400 against him. So Cruiser gets the nod here in the 7th, looking to keep this an 8-run game and send his team home with a pair of victories over the Dolphins in non-conference play. But Nick, for the Dolphins, I think the concerning thing that we've seen in these 2 games is that the offense really hasn't gotten going. They've scored 4 runs in this game, but it wasn't the bats that did that. Make it 5 in this game. They had 4 in the 1 inning. But CSI in these 2 games have not used the pitchers near the front end of that rotation. We haven't seen Ryan Kehoe. We haven't seen Christian Rice. We haven't seen Gerard Santos. Those are the arms the Dolphins expect to come out and be very strong each and every start. Those guys haven't pitched today. I think it is mildly concerning that the CSI bullpen and the bottom of that rotation hasn't had the ability to get outs today, but that's something that can be corrected over the course of a season. A lot of these pitchers, underclassmen, getting their first collegiate action. Some of them transfers who do have some experience but are pitching in some of their first few games with the Dolphins. I think the bats really need to get going. heading into the weekend.
I think where you look at this game, the Dolphins only with 4 hits. They do have the 5 runs, but just 4 hits to show for it. And in game 1, they also had 6. So it was a scenario in which CSI has taken advantage of some mistakes made by the Lightning, but at the same time, they still haven't taken full advantage, if that makes any sense, where they will take advantage of getting those, opportunities off of walks or hit by pitches or errors, but they need to get some base hits and force the action for the Lightning, obviously from today, but now over the weekend they'll have to do the same if they want to pick up some big wins.
That's it sharply to short. Tough hop is handled there, and the throw to first is in time for the first out. Now we have to get the defensive changes for the Lightning before this inning is over. So, Nick, why don't you take over on the call? I'll help Stephanie out getting these changes, and we'll get the defensive alignment for Goldey-Beacom.
Okay. So Michael Keogh comes up here with 1 away. Dolphins now down to their final 2 outs of the inning, as Keogh will try to keep something going for CSI. On deck is Anthony Iracy. Takes that first pitch for a strike, 0-1. The 0-1. That one in there for a strike. Quickly 0-2. Quick 0-2 from Cruiser. That one misses in the dirt. And that one in there for strike 3. So Cruiser gets Keogh to look on strikes. And it's going to be up to Anthony Iracy here, 2 away. Dolphins are down to their final out in this one. Iracy swings and misses, 0-1. For Joe, for you guys, 20 is still the catcher. The 0-1. Misses on the outside, 1-1.
I can't stop. We'll catch him coming in. Just right down the outfield because we have everyone else.
Dolphins now down to their final strike here. Count 1-2 to Iracy. Misses low now, count 2-2.
You got 28 right. I'm going to get you center and left.
Half swing from Iracy. Did he go? He did. Strike 3, and that's the ball game. Goldey-Beacom picks up the strikeout there, and they will pick up the sweep of this doubleheader as the Lightning defeat the Dolphins by the final score of 13-5, as they improve their record now to 11-7 now on the season. Final tally for this game, the Lightning with 13 runs, 13 hits, and 3 errors. For the Dolphins, 5 runs, 4 hits, 2 errors in this one, as CSI drops both games to Goldey-Beacom. And they now will prepare for 4 more games here this weekend. In a game in which the Dolphins trailed early by 7, made it at one point a 3-run ball game. And they made it 7-4 with 4 in on the third inning, but Goldey-Beacom will respond and would not surrender the lead as they hold on in this game by the final of 13-5. As we mentioned, the next time this Dolphins baseball team will be on the field will be this upcoming Friday. They will be playing Dominican at 12 o'clock. The first start of the doubleheader. For us here on CSI Sportsnet, the next time we will be live is tomorrow, as the CSI women's softball team will take on Georgian Court. But for this game, it's a 13-5 win for the Lightning in this one. Dolphins now will have 4 more games this week to try to get back from this sweep against the Lightning. And now, for the softball team, they will play their first games tomorrow. Their first games back from their Florida trip. So for now, we're going to sign off here on CSI Sportsnet. Once again, the final score, Goldey-Beacom 13, CSI 5. We'll be back here live tomorrow on the ECC Network with the Dolphins softball matchup as the CSI Dolphins women's team, or softball team, I should say, will be taking on Georgian Court for a doubleheader at the CSI softball complex. We'll see you all tomorrow at around 2:45 for our McDonald's pregame show. Have a great rest of your night, folks.